Hey there guys, welcome to the next tutorial here on the channel. I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a movable picture frame for your locker in this video. This is kind of continuing the back to school week on the channel here. I'm going to be having a few more tutorials for back to school coming pretty soon as well. So I'm going to be using the new Peacock duct tape for this video. I'm going to be making a picture frame, and of course it's going to be able to be moved around your locker depending on how you attach it, which I'm going to show you a few different ways. So let's jump head first into the tutorial here. Alright, so the very first thing you're going to need is, of course, a picture. You can get like a picture of your boyfriend or your girlfriend and you can put it in your locker. It'd be kind of a cool thing to do. Of course, you know, any size picture will work. I'm going to be showing you guys how to use the measurements for that. This is just a picture I used for the Duct Tape Festival. I was giving these out at the festival there. So what we're going to do first is measure the length and the height of the picture here. This is just a normal, you know, photo size picture. It's 4 inches, you know, long on the bottom. And if you look at the height, it is about 6 inches. So it's a simple 4x6 picture. So what we're going to do is cut a whole bunch of strips that are the length as well as the height, and we're going to be making a sheet of tape that's kind of the size, a little bit bigger though. So I cut out a bunch of strips that are 4.5 inches long. That's just an extra ½ inch from the length of the photo on the bottom. What I'm going to do is just stick these together, and I'm going to be applying these together to make a strip of tape that is about a ½ inch longer than the photo itself. So it's 6 inches high for a vertical photo, of course, so I'm going to be applying these to 6.5 inches. And you're going to need a decent amount of strips to do this. So I'm sticking all of these on, just overlapping them back and forth. I never realized how cool the peacock pattern is. It's definitely a very cool pattern to make things out of, by the way. So I'm going to take a bunch of more strips of these and kind of apply them back and forth till I get to that 6.5 inch height. Now this is what our sheet will look like once we have all of our strips applied. There's 4 on each side, so it looks nice. I've trimmed the edges so that there's no sticky side showing or anything like that. And you should be able to take your picture, and of course if you're doing it vertically it's going to look like this. If it's horizontal, you're just going to stick it in like that. And it should have just enough room all the way around the photo here. So we can look at the top, the sides, the bottom. You can definitely tell there's at least a 1/4 of an inch, which is perfect. And now we're going to move on to our next step, which will kind of be putting another sheet on top of it around the sides and the bottom, and kind of sealing that picture kind of like a picture frame. Now at this part in the tutorial you kind of have a couple options. There's really 2 different ways that you can do this. One of them kind of uses more tape than the other. If you want to, you can take 8 more strips of tape, stick them together for an identical sheet just like this, lay them both on top of each other, then kind of trace a rectangle out of that and cut that out of this piece. So you'll have kind of like a frame sitting on top, and then you can connect that piece on the sides and bottom. That kind of wastes a lot of tape, I think, because you're cutting that giant piece out and kind of wasting all the tape in the center. So what I'm going to be doing is actually just making each individual, you know, flap on the sides and bottom and put it on the top as well. And that's going to save a lot of tape. I'm just going to attach those pieces to the sides. So I got 2 pieces of tape here that are 6.5 inches long. That's the length of the height there. And I'm going to stick them together just like that. Then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to kind of just trim this so that I have a bunch of these pieces here. And you want them to be roughly all the same size, so I'm going to cut the first one out, and it's going to be a little tricky to cut through that much tape, but I got my first one there. Then I'm going to cut out my second, and this will be the 2 side pieces. I'm going to connect them. Then I need to work on the bottom one, so I'm going to take this one off and then measure one for the bottom and cut that out as well. So there are my 4 pieces for the sides, and I just need to connect those into one, you know, giant piece and kind of, you know, mold them around the part of the sheet of tape here. So I have one part for the bottom. I only need one piece of this. I could probably use the rest of this piece of tape for later. So I'm going to stick that over there. I'm going to lay this right on the bottom. That's going to go on the top. And I'm going to very simply just stick this to the sheet of tape right here. So half of it goes on that, half of it on the surface that you're working on. Flip the whole thing over, make sure it lines up once again. Do any trimming on the sides if you need to make sure that's exactly the same, and then kind of just fold it over like that. That's the easiest one, and you want to kind of make sure that that's, you know, good and stuck down so it doesn't flex up too much, but you can definitely set like a heavy book on top of it at the end, and that'll definitely flatten it down. Now we need to work on these 2 pieces here using the exact same method. One on that side and one on that side. So once you have the sides connected and the bottom, of course, which we did earlier, you're just going to simply attach the top. And the top is a little bit different because we don't want to, kind of close up the top. That's how we're going to slip the photo in. So we're just going to line it up here, take two very small pieces of tape, and then these are just going to wrap around the back like this. So we're leaving a small piece on the top open to slide in the photo. And you'll notice it's popping up a little bit. Don't worry about that too much till the very end. Like I said, you can just set a heavy book on top of it and that'll flatten it out. A dictionary works perfectly. That's what I personally use. Or any good math book will do it as well. So like I said, heavy book on top, and that'll be flattened down really well, and you can start working on the next step. Okie dokie, so the next thing is, of course, to slide the photo in. And this is a kind of a well-centered photo. It's not, on the edges or anything. So it kind of works to have that border, that frame all the way around. If you're kind of working with a photo where everyone is kind of close to the sides, or your people's faces or whatever, you might have to kind of, center the photo a little bit differently and kind of make these a little bit smaller or a little larger depending on what you're trying to go for. But these will definitely, stay down once you put a heavy book on top of them for a while. Now what we're going to do is work on the back, and that's where we're going to attach some magnets or a few other different ways I'm going to show you. So once again, we have the awesome, powerful magnets here. And these are going to be one of the most popular ways to attach things to your locker, simply because they don't cause any mess or anything like that. And of course, you can move them around, move your photo frame around, which is really cool if it's kind of getting in the way, or you just want to put it in a different place or something like that. So to take the magnets, just make sure the polarity is the right side, and then you want to just kind of seal them down with a piece of duct tape. You can kind of experiment with the size of the piece of duct tape to make sure that when you kind of move it around, it doesn't take the duct tape with it. If your magnets are really powerful, that might actually happen, like these. You can also use that kind of magnetic strip that you can cut to different lengths and then kind of just stick it on the back. And those are a lot, and not as powerful, that you can pretty much use those a lot easier. So I have one magnet on the top corner. You're probably only going to need two, because just because it's not very heavy, it's only a picture in there. But you can go with the 4 magnets if you want, one in each corner, and kind of experiment with how many you want on there. But that's kind of the way of attaching it to your locker. Now, if your locker isn't metal or the magnets aren't going to work for any reason, you can always take a piece of duct tape and kind of just stick it to the back here. Kind of roll up a piece of tape, like I'll show you briefly here, like this. Kind of roll it in on itself and kind of stick it like that. It's kind of an unorthodox way of doing it, and it might leave a little bit of stickiness on your locker, which I don't know, might be an issue at your school, but it's usually pretty simple to just take the adhesive off, and it should be pretty easy to move the photo frame around, even if you are using this method. So that's how to make a mobile photo frame for your locker, or if you want to stick it somewhere else, you can do that as well, like your refrigerator. Alright, so hopefully you guys liked the video. Not all of the back to school tutorials will focus on locker related things. Like a week ago I did do the locker organizer, and this one is also a locker related thing. I'm also going to teach you guys how to make a few cool things that you can put in your backpack, which should be coming soon. Should be another tutorial coming tomorrow for this, as well as on Wednesday, which will kind of be the last day for kind of focusing on back to school week here on the channel. So like I said, hope you guys like this, and I'll catch you next time on the channel tomorrow for that next tutorial for back to school week.